today's all-time best. He is the reigning three-time featherweight world champion. He's already been the lightweight world champion. He's looking tonight to become the welterweight champion as well. If he can do it, he'll be MMA's first three-division world titles. We've got all now, so to draw your attention to the video screen, let's take a more in-depth look at that man, the fighter from Brazil, Mauricio Pitbull.
The goal of Bellator MMA, Mauricio Pitbull, rebounded from a frustrating 2021 to show the world why, once again, he is so revered. After his defeat to AJ McKee in the $1 million Bellator featherweight World Grand Prix finals, Pitbull returned to Pitbull Brothers headquarters with one goal in mind: reclaim what he felt was rightfully his. Pitbull and McKee were beating the promotion's biggest ever rematch at Bellator 277. This time, Pitbull used his kicks to keep the mercenary at bay, tagging McKee with a big right hand in the third round before clutching a very tight knee to the depth. Judges were ruled fight in favor of Pitbull, putting him back on top of the featherweight mountain. The 35-year-old was fighting once more 4 years in last year with a highly confident Adam Bourne. Despite high expectations for the kid, the ultra-confident Pitbull exhibited his superior experience and strength to systematically defeat Warren in 45 minutes and retain his confidence again.
And once again, tonight, your number 297 is another main event. That is the challenger. He just called Ringo Street to do Pitbull over the title. That'll be tonight's first fight in the double main event. From there, move on to the light heavyweight division. One of the most fearsome strikers gets his first shot at another goal. That's Joel Romero. And he'll take on one of MMA's best light heavyweights. Right now, he sits on top of Sherdog's light heavyweight rankings, and he gives the reigning light heavyweight champion opportunity his fourth title defense. Again, to draw attention to the video screen, here's a more in-depth look at that fighter, Khabib Nurmagomedov.
After a remarkable 2021 where Khabib Nurmagomedov scored decisive wins over Phil Davis and Julius Iglesias, the favorite fighter prepared to beat Corey Anderson in the finals of the light heavyweight World Grand Prix. Accidental touch of head in the third round caused a bad cut over Nurmagomedov's left eye. A wound which referee Frank Trick deemed too severe to allow the fight to continue. Despite the odd swing and overtime favor of the rematch, the former Combat Samuel champion who showed exactly why he was considered the best light heavyweight on the planet at the time. Nurmagomedov would utilize his Samuel background, stuffing all 15 takedown attempts from the challenger and ultimately dominating the fight to claim a unanimous decision win, the World Grand Prix light heavyweight title, and a check for a cool $1 million.
could be a historic night in Bellator MMA. Off the banks of Lake Michigan, Chicago is known for plenty of things, but among them, one of the most iconic skylines in the world and home of the first skyscraper. Tonight inside the Wintrust Arena, one man will work to take his career to new heights after 19 years in mixed martial arts. Patricio Pitbull has a towering resume, and tonight he may add another level. It is Pitbull versus Pettis for the bantamweight belt. Patricio Pitbull looking to become the only man in MMA history to win a belt in 3 different weight classes in a major promotion. But standing in his way, Sergio Pettis, his first title defense after a year off dealing with injury. And our other main event, at 46 years old, Yoel Romero, the soldier of God, is missing one thing from his own resume, a championship belt. He gets that shot tonight against the best light heavyweight in the world, Vadim Nemkov. Also tonight, 1 and 2 in the light heavyweight division. They will fight to see who can get one step closer to a title shot. Corey Anderson and Phil Davis, both with incredibly similar styles, so who can find the advantage tonight? And kicking off the main card, the big boys battle. Gokhan Sadikham versus Chicago's own Daniel James. The last time James fought in Chicago, he won and said he was putting the heavyweight division on notice. Can he continue that journey tonight? It is one of, perhaps not the biggest card in Bellator history, and to kick things off, let's send it down to Big John McCarthy and 2-time world champ Josh Thompson.
Well, thank you so much, Amanda, and we are ready for our first featherweight matchup. We have got Cody Law coming in at a 6-2 record against first-time Bellator newcomer Edwin Chavez at 6-4. Our tale of the tape for this featherweight matchup.
Well, John, what I'm looking at right now with Edwin Chavez is the reach. He's got that 2.5-inch reach advantage. I'm doing the math in my head right now, making sure.
Making sure.
Keep him on the edge of that jab to avoid those takedowns.
And we have the very cool voice of Michael C. Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome. And above all else, we thank you for your patience as we get set now to begin here at Bellator MMA. Bellator 297 from Chicago gets underway right now with 3 5-minute rounds in the featherweight division. Introducing blue corner. At 5'11", weighing in 146 pounds, his professional record 6 wins, 4 losses out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. Introducing Edwin Chavez. And across the cage, his adversary out of the red corner at 5'9", weighing in 145 pounds even. As a professional, he brings 6 victories, 2 defeats. By way of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, he fights out of Coconut Creek, Florida, presenting Cody Law. And your referee in charge, Mike Simarusti.
Mike Simarusti, our referee for this, our beginning fight of the night, featherweight matchup. Cody Law against Edwin Chavez.
Round one, fight!
You know, Josh, Cody Law came into Bellator 5-0 as an amateur. He's done all of his pro fights here. He was 6-0. He's lost his last 2. What does he have to do to change course on what's happened?
It's a mentality, John. You know that. He's going to have to change kind of what he was getting comfortable in. He really came in as predominantly a wrestler, started getting real comfortable on his feet, got away from his wrestling. Then people started figuring out that he was falling in love with his stand-up, and those changes, I think he needs to go back. Beautiful right hand, but he needs to go back into utilizing the striking with his wrestling.
That was a beautiful job of him catching the kick there and making Chavez pay off of that.
Cody's got really fine stand-up, and what I love about Cody is he steps off after he lands and he creates another angle to try to land another shot. I'd like to see him mix in the wrestling, because what that does, that opens up your striking a little bit more in the boxing area.
Well, yeah, you take a look, he was an NC2A national champion in wrestling. He wrestled at Penn State, left Penn State, went to University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown, won an NC2A title. So this is a guy that someone, you know, told us long ago, this is one of the best prospects out of ATT.
Yeah, but you understand, John, as we've heard this before many times, you can be the best prospect in the gym, but it has to do with what you can do in that cage. And he came out on fire in his first couple fights, and he was developing as a fighter, progressing as a fighter as you want to see is when they're young and talented like that. So, but as he started falling in love with his power, he started falling in love with the boxing, he got away from what got him to the dance.
Why is it that you always see wrestlers changing over into, I get success with my hands, and now that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be just a power puncher.
Well, because our whole lives, John, I come from a wrestling background. we had to work really hard, and striking seems a lot easier.
There is not quite the grind. Nice shot, big right hand by Cody Law right there. Edwin Chavez taking a lot of damage. You can see the marks on his face already. Cody's being very accurate with his shots.
Yeah, Chavez got to keep that jab pumping, though, to keep Cody at the end of it so he can avoid the takedowns, but also keep away from that big left hook.
What do you think about Chavez moving to his left into the power of Cody Law?
I would suggest he go to the right, obviously, but I also think he's got to start opening up those leg kicks on the inside to keep Cody loyal with his striking, his boxing.
Nice kick by Cody Law. Set that up well. Beautiful combination. It's a big difference that we're seeing is he's throwing 3s and 4s, not just 1s and 2s.
See, this is where I think Cody gets most of his work done in a positive way in terms of controlling the tempo of the pace of the fight and then also doing the work from the top. Really grinding on fighters. That's what wrestlers are known for. Why get away from that? He's so talented on the feet. But this is where I see him having most of his success.
In this position right here, why does he not just move himself to mount?
Because that right there, John.
That's a big, heavy shot by Cody Law. Edwin Chavez having a rude welcoming to the Bellator cage. Cody Law all over him. He has not had a moment where he's been able to rest.
This is a very familiar position for Cody Law in terms of the riding position in the wrestling department as well as for MMA. Sit him to his hip, keep breaking him down, make him work to get back to his feet, spend energy that he doesn't want to spend. He's trying to hand fight right now, at Chavez is, but he's not able to try to get back up to his feet. While you're hand fighting, you gotta be looking to stand up the whole time.
One of the things that Chavez said coming into this fight is that, he trains at 7,000 feet in elevation, and he believes that he can wear Cody Law out. He's looking for the long haul, third round type of finish.
Well, I think what he did was he saw in Cody Law's first loss was that he started to get tired as the fight went on because his opponent kept pushing on him, making him work. Cody, that was just inexperience. What that was is Cody had landed big shots, had hurt his opponent, had kept chasing the finish, and when he wasn't able to get it, it worked against him and backfired. But I think he's remedied that situation, though.
Yeah, he's looking fantastic right now. Keeps on looking for that left hook.
This is one of the most underutilized positions in the sport right now. See how he's kicking the legs out. A lot of fighters right now are wrestlers. What they do is they keep dropping down the legs. Nice shots from Cody Law from the top. They keep dropping down on the legs trying to get the lift in the double leg when in fact you can start looking to hit foot sweep, and that's a lot less effort. You don't spend as much energy. And the results are still the same if you can get it.
Beautiful job of riding his hips over the top, just flowing with the motion here. Cody Law looking good. Ending this first round. A lot of damage done.
Round easy up.
Here, fool, sit down, Here. Fool, Edwin, you need to throw, fool. You're just moving. Fool, you have to throw, fool. You have to engage. You're moving well, and you're making a miss, but fool, he's feinting now and making you go into them and throwing kicks where you have to freaking return fire. You can't just let him throw, fool. You have to throw to his body. You have to freaking throw to his legs, and you're using the face well, fool, but you have to actually throw. Let the hands go, fool. All right? That was nothing. Look.
Here Chavez corner telling him what he has to do. He's telling him you got to stick and move. You can't just stand in front of him and let him get off. You got to make him respect you. You got to throw back at him to make him respect you. And this is what he's talking about. He's moving straight back, putting his back to the fence, and Cody's able to get off with the right hands, get to the clinch, and do the dirty boxing that Randy Couture made his career out of. And this is what I was talking about. It's the wrestling, even though the wrestling's there, it's just utilizing the foot sweeps, so you're not using as much energy that make you tired, and did good work from the top.
Yeah, if you're talking about coming off of 2 losses, Cody Law just had a fantastic first round here. No doubt he took that round.
But I like what Chavez did when he first came out. Right away establishing the kicks, which will keep him at bay. Use that the long limbs that you have, the inside kicks and the long jabs. This is what he needs to do. His trainer got through to him in between rounds.
Absolutely, and the one thing his trainer was so right is, look, you're not going to do anything if you're not throwing. You've got to get busy. You've got to start making him have to deal with something.
But John, you have to remember, in your debut, you tend to show too much respect to the person that's in front of you when you're in a big promotion.
True. Beautiful takedown by Cody Law. Now we're almost into side control position. Cody has been just dominating all the positions of this fight, be it on the feet or on the ground. There hasn't been a moment that he hasn't really been in control.
But I like how Chavez came out to start the second round, try to establish himself and get respect.
Trying to get respect. Not easy to do sometimes when you're in there. Possible triangle if he looks to line. Nice movement by Cody Law on top. Now, what is it about the wrestlers in the half guard position that they just fall in love with?
Well, I think anytime you're able to pin someone's back to the canvas and able to control them from that position, you fight hard from that position. Most jiu-jitsu fighters, they're comfortable there, so it makes it even easier for the wrestler to pin them to that position. I keep going back to Randy Couture because he made his career off this half guard. He would put himself there because he knew it was a much easier way to establish control of the person underneath him.
Yeah, he would clamp down on that leg and just hold your hips down on the ground and just do work, do damage, and just beat you down to where you were not effective in the fight. Nice use of the butterfly guard by Chavez, though. He's working to try to keep those hips light. That's going to keep Cody from being able to use any type of offense.
You know, I fought Dwayne Ludwig, and that was the one thing that it threw me off. I wasn't expecting him to have a good butterfly sweep or a good hood sweep, and man, he was phenomenal in that position. I told him afterwards, I was like, it's a very difficult sweep to get past. As you're seeing, Cody's having a hard time right now with that butterfly sweep.
Edwin Chavez did a nice job of elevating him up. He got him to the side. He just wasn't able to continue that motion through to get on top.
Now he's got to start circling out, Chavez does, to his back.
Nice job of using the wizard to flatten him right back out. But a big difference that we're seeing between the two rounds as far as everything was working for Cody. He was landing clean shots throughout, even on the ground. This one, a little bit more difficult.
I like how Chavez is swiveling his hips. He's threatening some positions, getting back up to his feet. Cody with the good job on the wrist control, pulling the elbow out, keeping his back flat.
Very nice job of Cody Law to pull him off of that cage, because when he's sitting with his back up there, it is difficult for you to get clean shots on him.
He's looking to attack that. Chavez looking to attack that triangle position if he can. He's got to get that left leg out of there.
Law looking to trap the left arm with his right knee. But if you're Edwin Chavez, you really have to take some, feeling of being better in this round, of being able to control a lot of what he's able to do and stifling the offense.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more confidence, I think, in this round, knowing that he didn't take as many shots this round. He's got to work on getting back up to his feet, though, not just keep chasing the submissions.
Cody almost in the position of being able to get into that full mount, settles into half guard.
But the last 20 seconds of this round, you got to look to start doing a lot more damage, though.
Ten seconds left in the round. Cody Law looking to just do a little bit more damage. Leg lock attempt by Chavez. Nothing there. But if you're Edwin Chavez, like I said, you got to look and say, okay, That was better. I'm more comfortable now inside the cage. Yeah, I can go with this guy. He's got to really turn it on in the third round.
Yeah, he's got to really go for broke. And look, like I said, the first round jitters, I would give it to him, being in a big promotion, making your debut. Second round, he came out on fire, just got out wrestled, stuck on the bottom, chasing the submissions. Look for him in the third round to establish more of the kicking range right off the bat, but also not be careless with it.
Lay on top of you, fool. Hit the fucker or get back up.
Edwin Chavez's coach, Justin Mercado, trying to just inspire his fighter, get him up.
You're barely warming up. You're not even breathing hard.
Let him know that, you know what, you're not tired. There's a whole lot more left for you to do in there. Go get it.
He's giving everything, fool. But you can't
We'll see if he can do that.
For those of you guys that like the punch stats, let me give you a little stat here. Law is connected with more punches than Chavez has thrown. He's landed 40% of his punches he's thrown.
Ooh, just missing with the high kick by Chavez. That just was off. Cody's deep on that takedown.
Smart play, though, by Cody.
Yeah. Starting to get a little dangerous, looking for the jump knee. No, I'm not going to play that game. I'm taking you down.
Well, Cody Law's got one of the best coaches in the game in his corner, and Mike Brown. Mike Brown probably went out there and said, look, the takedown came easy. The control from the top position came easy. Let's go back to the well. Let's get the win.
Why take a chance on the feet when you're dominating on the ground? And that's a nice job of Edwin to get that framing of his leg inside, pushing the hips of Cody Law back. That's not an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of effort. Well done.
Well, you saw from Cody that was smart, turning his back off of the fence, trying to establish his back flat to the mat again. Makes it harder for your opponent to get back up to their base and build themselves back up to their feet. That hook sweep is money for him.
Edwin Chavez going after that sweep again. Look, got him back to his feet. He's got a wizard with that left arm. We'll see if he can get himself clear. He obviously wants to be in a position where he's at range against Cody. That's where he feels like he's best. He is in a southpaw stance, but he's a natural right-handed fighter.
Well, Justin Mercado, his coach, told him, hey, you train at 7,000 altitude. You got the cardio, you got the pressure. Get out there and get it done. Push the pace. You're not even breathing hard. And that's what you're seeing right now from Chavez.
That was a nice job of him going after those elbow strikes. The head was on the outside. He was able to land some clean strikes.
That's a little deep there, John.
Doesn't appear that Cody feels like he's in danger right now with the way he's just relaxing, though. But all those little adjustments you're looking from Chavez, it only takes one little bit to make it a whole lot tighter.
And with the length of Chavez, if he can get all the way up underneath that chin and start to bring it back over the back of Cody Law's shoulder, he might be able to lock it in. There you go.
See him trying to lock it over the top. And obviously those elbows opened up a cut on Cody Law. You can see that there's blood on the side of Edwin Chavez. That was from those elbows we were talking about earlier. Well, what does Law have to do to get out of this right now?
I mean, really, he's got to kind of keep this position, but he's ended up losing the round. Nice roll through, though. That was nicely done. You got to take a chance on those roll throughs, but you got to time it perfectly, because if you come up short, you can end up stuck and actually making that choke tighter.
You can end up in the bottom position, which only makes it twice as bad.
You can hear Chavez's corners trying to get up, Don't focus on trying to chase this submission.
Well, right now, if you're talking about submissions, Cody Law's in a position. He can get into a Von Flue choke right now. Chavez is locked onto that head. You can trap that arm.
Yeah, all he's got to do is actually put the shoulder pressure across it if he'd have kept the left forearm underneath the neck.
But again, you're looking at 4 minutes into this round. Chavez has done a really good job of slowing down the offense of Cody Law. He hasn't taken much damage. In fact, I think he's done more damage in this round than Cody has.
Is 4 minutes into the round? Isn't it just 1 minute left?
1 minute left is 4 minutes into the round.
Nice.
Your mathematics
is coming
just
along.
Unbelievable.
Cody doing a good job establishing the top position, making sure that he's taking away the threat of the guillotine and the choke. Chavez just got to abandon this, start working to try to get back to his feet, look for a Hail Mary.
Well, look to me, he's going for a Hail Mary right now by holding on to that. But he doesn't have the choke set. It's not going to work for him. But overall in this round, I think he did a great job. It's going to be interesting to see what the judges are going to come up with. I think Cody Law is obviously going to win the fight. He won the first 2 rounds. We'll see what happens.
Stop the fight. Good fight, gentlemen. Good fight, gentlemen.
You could tell it was that first round jitters with Chavez. Got a slow start, kind of let Cody Law kind of push him around the cage a little bit. Woke up in the second round, but just chased the submissions too much. Didn't get back up to his feet. Third round, a little bit better.
Now, if you're Cody Law, and like we said, coming off of those 2 decision losses, how do you feel right now with your performance? You're obviously going to get the win. He's going to get the win in this fight, but is this the performance that you wanted to get off the snide of those 2 losses?
You know, John, even when fighters win, they're not happy with their performance. So we can push all that to the side. Look, to be honest, all he cared about, I think, tonight was getting the win.
Getting the W.
Getting the W, getting back on the win track. And it's all about building the confidence. Okay, now we go to the next one. I'm done with this one already. We moved on. I'm already looking forward to the next one.
Waiting on the judges turn in their scorecards. And now we go to Michael C. Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, having gone the distance, we'll go now to your 3 judges at cage side. Your first, Brandon Mason, scores at 29-28, while judges Sal D'Amato and Derek Cleary both see it the same, 30-27, all for the winner by unanimous decision, Cody Law.
Big win for Cody Law. That's important to get off of that losing. It just starts to build with you. He's out of there now. He's got a win. Now he can just get into the next fight.
Definitely get back into the gym right away, avoiding any injuries if he did, and then back on track to what's next.
We have much more prelim action coming your way.
Hey, Bellator Nation, follow us across a large array of digital platforms and stay up to date on everything you need to know. Like us on the Bellator Facebook page and see exclusive videos. Follow us and get instant updates on Twitter at Bellator MMA and get a chance to have your tweet live on the broadcast. See amazing pictures on Instagram at Bellator MMA. Join Bellator Nation today.
When it's time to get it in, I ain't the one to mess with.
Bellator returns with a double title fight tilt. Light heavyweight champ Vadim Nemkov is on a collision course.
Ain't no way to stop us when we hit ignition.
With the most terrifying fighter in MMA, Yoel Romero.
What a monster!
Plus, bantamweight champ Sergio Pettis.
Pettis, spectacular!
Faces Bellator GOAT Patricio Pitbull.
Ain't no way to stop us when we on a mission.
Bellator MMA, Nemkov versus Romero, and Pettis versus Pitbull. Tonight on Showtime.
Our next fight, a middleweight matchup with undefeated Jordan Newman taking on Matthew Care Bear Perry. Our tail of the tape for this middleweight matchup.
John, I'm looking at the reach and the height, man. 3 inches on both from Newman. He's got to utilize that long jab, use the power. If he's got to, hang on the head.
Up to our man, Michael C. Williams.
For all those joining us tonight live on the stream on YouTube, we welcome you to Wintrust Arena here in Chicago as we go now to 3 5-minute rounds in the middleweight division. Introducing the blue corner first. At 5'9", weighing in 184 pounds, his professional record 5 wins, 3 defeats out of Indianapolis, Indiana, Matthew the Care Bear Perry. And across the cage, his adversary out of the red corner at 6 foot, weighing in 186 pounds. As a professional, he stands undefeated, 5 wins, no losses out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Jordan Not Human Newman. And your referee in charge, Jason Herzog.
Our referee for the fight, the incomparable Jason Herzog, one of the best to do it.
First round, fight, you ready? Are you ready? Fight.
You know, we've watched Jordan Newman come from no fights to being 5-0 in the Bellator cage. He's an outstanding wrestler, but he's really been trying to use his power in his hands. Matthew Perry coming off a very long, he has had 1 fight in the last 10 years. It was recent, he got a win, but what is the long layoff going to do in this type of situation?
Well, John, I'm looking at the name, Care Bear.
You don't like the Care Bear?
That's all I can get. I can't get past it. I can't get past
I like
it.
the Care Bear.
Newman very aggressive, though, with the push kick up the middle and then the big right hands. Straight lefts, I mean, sorry.
Newman says he's got something to prove. He says, I'm tired of fighting people that I don't think are at my level. He wants to prove just that he belongs. He looks at Johnny Eblen as the middleweight champion and says, look, I should be fighting Johnny Eblen. I should be up there. Is it that he's looking a little too far ahead?
Just a tiny bit. Look, let's ooh, nice take, almost a lateral drop. The fence got in the way there. I don't want to say he's looking too far ahead. I'd say in a couple fights. Give us, say, 4 or 5 more fights. I mean, that's depends on you and what you're talking about in terms of far ahead. He's got good skill. He's got good wrestling skills. He's got great hands. You know, he overly aggressive sometimes, leaves himself out of position. Those are things he's got to really try to remedy before he starts calling out fighters like Johnny Eblen.
And Matthew Perry been doing jiu-jitsu for a good portion of his career. 15 years with jiu-jitsu, but those are the things that take you from being a black belt into a brown belt, white belt quickly. He is just getting hammered by Jordan Newman.
Nice top pressure. What I love when I'm watching wrestlers is I like to see them go chest to chest, make sure they're applying that pressure. They're not posturing up too much to create more space for the jiu-jitsu player to get underneath them and try to create sweeps.
It was a beautiful job of Jordan Newman. You notice how he's staying on top, just flowing with all that motion by Matthew Perry. Did not matter.
Your hip, man.
Nice elbow there over the top.
And Jordan Newman, he is just loading up on those. You can tell he wants to do damage. That's a nice cutting elbow. Matthew Perry is going to have to get to a position where his back is not flat on the mat right now because it is not looking good. You can't take too many of these types of shots.
Yeah, when your back is flat, you always have to turn to your side to create some space, also to mount some sort of offense. And so I think Newman understands, as long as I have his back flat, I can posture up at any time without any danger and start letting down some punches. Nicely done on the pass.
Really nice into a crucifix position here. Matthew Perry's in trouble. He's going after the Americana right now. Looking for that key lock.
Got to get that left elbow to the other side of the head. There it is.
That is nice. That's put some pressure there. Good job by Matthew Perry. Using his hips, create some bump, get that space, get his arm back.
Yeah, what Newman did there was nice. He jumped back into the half guard to avoid him bridging him all the way over. That shows some experience there of understanding when you don't have the submission, don't keep fighting for it and lose the position. Go back to the top position, control that top position.
Jordan Newman attaining mount right now, so he is in a dominant position.
You're going to find with a lot of top-level wrestlers, there's a couple go-to-me submissions, and one of them is what, John?
Oh, the arm triangle, baby.
Arm triangle on the side show is that is their position, and then normally goes into some sort of Kimura, key lock, something along that line.
Going back to that key lock. Perry by getting himself to the side. Yeah.
Nicely done. He was never in jeopardy at all during the fight. Constantly on top, letting the punches go and chasing the submissions.
I don't think he got hit with one punch in that fight. That was just domination by Jordan Newman. Outstanding job.
What I liked what he did, though, John, was he established the mount position, let the striking do the work, and then that led into him jeopardize the position to get to the submission. Started threatening the submission. He slow played it, though. He let it set up. See how he's working the feet, trying to keep that top position. Works to the key lock. Nicely done. Kept the right elbow into the head. Watch when that right elbow goes on the other side of the head. That's when he establishes that lock. That lock is almost impossible to finish when the arm is on the other side. Once he established that position, you saw Perry look at the tap. Nicely done by Newman.
Very nice. Impressive performance, putting himself where he says, look, I'm ready for the big names in the middleweight division. What do you think?
I like to slow play him a little bit because he's got so much potential. That's the thing. I like to slow play him a little bit, give him another tougher, tougher fight. But yeah, I think so. I think he's ready for the next step up in competition for sure.
Let's get it up to Michael C. Williams for the call.
Ladies and gentlemen, inside the Bellator cage, the tap by way of the Americana. It ends 4:20 into round number 1. The winner by submission, still undefeated, Jordan, not human, Newman.
Nice win in the first round for Jordan Newman. Looking good, 6-0. He's starting to stack up those wins. Well, Daniel James is all about the city of Chicago.
This is Chicago, the Windy City, home to Wrigley Field, deep dish pizza, and one of the highest crime rates in the country. My name is Daniel James. I'm a hard-hitting heavyweight who takes care of business in the cage, tries to make a difference outside of it. Chicago these days, it's rough, man. It's hard growing up on these streets with the gun violence, the carjackings, people getting robbed. The homeless and the poverty is through the roof right now. And it's just sad that I gotta look over my shoulder and know that, like, man, anything can happen. The average shooter, 13 years old. The average carjacker starts at 12 or 13 years old. Outside of fighting, I spend a lot of time with kids. Try to be a mentor, sounding board for these kids that need guidance. I go to schools, gyms, youth centers. I know how tough it is to grow up in these streets. Yeah, this is my town, this is my city, this is my everything. In case you haven't noticed, the heavyweight division is about to change tremendously. We need a new star. And Daniel James is gonna put on the show, night in, night out. I just love using these big blocks on my hand and just laying guys out. You know, either get knocked out or beat down, but it hurts so bad. The night of November 18, I'm in my hometown in Chicago against Tyrell Fortune. That's like one of my favorite moments in MMA.
Oh, that was a big shot.
Shot by James.
Man, that last uppercut, I can watch that over and over and over again.
It's over. Daniel James, the American Predator.
It never gets over to me. It was the biggest punch of my life. When I raised my hand in that ring, the first thing popped in my mind was,
It's showtime in Chicago. Make some fucking noise. Let's go.
And Daniel James ready to raise the roof to kick off the main card for Bellator 297. He's 3-0 in Bellator with 3 knockouts. Gokhan Saricham will try to derail DJ Large Express. But right now, we continue with the prelims and one of the most compelling contests you could ask for between number 10 ranked lightweight, the undefeated upstart Archie Colgan, and 2-time featherweight title challenger Emmanuel Sanchez, who is expected to serve as Colgan's litmus test.
Litmus test. You can take a look at that record of 7-0. Archie Colgan has been on fire, but Emmanuel Sanchez at 20-8 has a ton of experience. He is a fantastic fighter. This is a tremendous matchup.
Here once again is Michael C. Williams.
Tonight here from Chicago at Bellator 297, we'll move now to the lightweight division, scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds. Introducing the blue corner. At 5'9", weighing in 155 pounds, the 2-time featherweight title challenger as a professional, brings 20 wins, 8 losses, fighting out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, by way of Harvard, Illinois, Emmanuel El Matador Sanchez. And across the cage, his adversary fighting out of the red corner. At 5'8", weighing in 155 pounds, just off a dramatic first round knockout victory. He makes the quick return, still undefeated. Now 7 professional victories without a defeat. He fights out of Denver, Colorado, Archie Colgan. In charge, your referee, Mike Cimarusti.
You heard the weighing in companion commentary from Big John McCarthy and Josh Thompson. Mauro Ranallo now taking over for JT. Archie Colgan, hey, he thinks one day he's going to take over the entire division. Emmanuel Sanchez, he's looking to bounce back from the longest losing streak of his career. He's lost 4 in a row, John, but he returned to lightweight in his last fight against Yancy Medeiros, and he thought he should have been given the decision. He was outpointed, and now again serving as a barometer for just how good Archie Colgan is, because he is the talk of the sport when it comes to prospects.
Look, if you're talking about prospects, Archie Colgan is one of the hot prospects out there. Everyone knows. Look, this guy can wrestle, and I mean, he can wrestle, but he doesn't really use it a lot. He likes to be on his feet. He likes to use his hands, and we've seen he not only has power, he is a technical striker. He uses his footwork very well. He'll throw the kicks, but Emmanuel Sanchez has he's got a motor, and he will definitely take the fight to the ground and be in a jiu-jitsu fight with Colgan any day.
Trevor Whitman has helped Colgan sharpen his striking skills, 7-0 with 5 knockouts, including a monster KO over Justin Montalvo in the first round of his last fight earlier this year in March. And again, very composed, very patient, and for a 27-year-old in just his 8th professional fight, his approach really does belie his lack of maturity as a mixed martial artist, John. He was at University of Wyoming, trained by Justin Salas, who was also a University of Wyoming wrestling alum. But Emmanuel Sanchez looking to give Colgan some stiff tests. He just defended a takedown.
He did defend the takedown, but if you've noticed, it was very nice what Archie Colgan did by using that body shot inside. Look, Emmanuel Sanchez he's a beast. I love him as a fighter. He has got a gas tank. He's a volume fighter. He's a guy that needs to get going, and he will hit you with nothing but all kinds of shots. No matter where you are in the fight, he has to stop the pressure that Archie Colgan brings and keep his hands moving.
Always a tough out, Emmanuel Sanchez. 8 decision wins in the Bellator featherweight division, most in divisional history. But again, returned to 155 in his last fight, hoping to turn the tables on his career, but now looking to cut down the momentum of Colgan, who delivered a cutting calf kick to Sanchez's lead leg. And by the way, John, Sanchez, after a decade with Rufus Sport, now working with Vanderlei Jiu-Jitsu MMA, and Daniel Vanderlei, he's a part of the storyline coming up later tonight. The former Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coach of bantamweight champion Sergio Pettis, now in the corner of challenger Patricio Pitbull tonight.
Well, that's a big story, and there's a lot to talk about with it. But right now, Emmanuel Sanchez needs to really up his volume. It's the volume attack that you see right there. That's what makes Emmanuel Sanchez so difficult to fight.
Beautiful counter combination by Colgan. Again, remaining calm under fire and able to split the guard with a textbook 1-2.
And there's no doubt when you're taking a look at this matchup, this is a big step up in competition for Archie Colgan. He's had some, fights where you look good fighters, but not with the experience of Emmanuel Sanchez.
And the takedown secured by Archie Colgan. Wide base, very active on his back, the veteran Sanchez. Sanchez does have 8 submission wins, only 1 knockout, and here in his 29th professional fight, by far the most experienced competitor of Archie Colgan's blossoming career.
No doubt about it. You see Sanchez really looking towards going either into an armbar or bring that up for a triangle attempt, but he just needs to, right now, continue to change that angle. Colgan right now is really being heavy on the top as far as stopping the hip movement of Sanchez, and he just wants to land good ground and pound shots, both elbows and punches.
Under a minute left in the first frame. Sanchez very active on his back. Colgan posturing up and then moving out, almost got hit with the up kick. Rocked Sanchez with that right hand. Uppercut connects. He caught Sanchez behind the ear. Really messing with his equilibrium momentarily, but Sanchez is resilient as they come.
Sanchez landed a good up kick there. Actually, that stung Colgan, and then Colgan came right back and just gave it back.
Half minute remaining again. The learning curve of Archie Colgan, very happy with how things have gone thus far in Bellator. When you're unbeaten and he realizes, he's proven, hey, I already can beat guys at my level. I want to beat those guys that people think are at another level. And in terms of experience and wherewithal and IQ, Emmanuel Sanchez, despite the losing streak, represents that test. Jumping knee as we come to the end of an eventful round 1.
Nice round.
Right there, I need just a little bit more hand play, okay? Make him think about something a little bit.
Wow, there was a lot of action going on here. This is when Archie Colgan got up. Look at that nice, beautiful heel kick from the bottom by Sanchez. That stung Archie, but right away, bink, that little right hand over the top, right behind the ear, kind of just took all the equilibrium from Sanchez away. He recovered quickly, and that's because he's always in fantastic shape. But what a back and forth battle at times between both guys. Archie Colgan seeing that, yep, there's levels to this sport, and I'm seeing the difference of the level of Emmanuel Sanchez.
Colgan with just under a minute of control time on the veteran Sanchez, who did not accept his position, and as you mentioned, John, did land that heel strike to the side of Colgan's face, but we are set for round 2. Scheduled for 3 rounds in the Bellator MMA lightweight division. A big step up for Archie Colgan, who has definitely looked the part of a blue chip prospect thus far.
Yeah, both guys have been, both guys have led the dance here. Both guys have been the guys pushing the other one back, and then you'll see that little shift of momentum.
Sanchez landing 30 of 55, a great start to the fight for the veteran, 55%, but also a decent opening 5 minutes for Archie Colgan.
Very close round, and it's really a question of that power, and you can go back to that kick that Sanchez.
By Colgan, platoon takedown, slam by the University of Wyoming alum, and that's the second takedown for Archie Colgan, but again, Sanchez has him on lockdown immediately.
Well, he's holding on to him, but Colgan very good with
nice escape by Sanchez, back to his feet, tripod.
Gonna roll through. Colgan stops that, just stuffs the hips on him.
Good control from the back by Colgan, rear waist lock, John.
And these are the positions that Archie Colgan, being a wrestler with the credentials that he has, this is his world right here, you guys. So you're going to see Sanchez try to roll through, and he's going to come out on top. That's the difference when you're working with someone that is so used to that flow of 2 bodies in motion and understands how to maintain that top position.
Colgan working from side control. Sanchez trying to neutralize any kind of attack, controlling his posture momentarily, trying to sweep, and does so back to his feet. Uppercut by Sanchez on the break, and again, Colgan, John, just resorts back to the game plan, tries to stick the jab, tries to slow down the pace to where he can execute whatever strategy he would like to employ. Again, showing the fact that he does not panic under fire.
No, and that comes from where he trains and the guys that he trains with. You got a guy here.
Body kick by Sanchez.
One of his main sparring partners and training partners is Kamaru Usman. That kind of training just gets you ready and says, if I can train with this guy, I can fight with anyone. That's the kind of confidence Archie Colgan has.
1-2, and of course, Justin Gaethje, known for his striking prowess, to say the least.
It's not bad.
Midway through the round and the fight, many people were talking about this as the one fight. Well, there's a bunch of them on the prelims, but the fight that really has caught the intrigue, especially hardcore MMA fans, knowing what Archie Colgan has done so far. And here in just his 8th professional fight, taking on 29-fight veteran, former two-time featherweight title challenger Emmanuel Sanchez, who looked to change levels, secure the takedown, well defended by Colgan.
Yeah, that's not going to be an easy thing for Emmanuel to do against Colgan. But look, the fact that he's making Colgan realize, hey, I'll work at taking you down too. That says something here, but exactly what you're saying. Colgan right now, look, he knows, wow, this is different. This is a different level. It's a different type of intensity. And he's seeing that, you know, a guy that brings the volume that Emmanuel Sanchez does, he just keeps coming. You've got to tell yourself.
I'm contractually obligated every time I see foot stomps. Shout out to the king of the streets, Marco Ruas. Thank you. A minute 35 left in the second round, but Sanchez pulling out every trick, trying to see what Archie Colgan is made of. And Colgan again on the release, resets. Sanchez stepping in, looking for the slashing elbow, goes back to the 1-2, but Colgan avoiding the damage, staying out of range.
You know, one of the things we know about Emmanuel Sanchez is he's got a gas tank. He can go and go. That was a big shot he just took right there. But you're seeing that Colgan.
Oh, body kick by Sanchez.
Colgan's in outstanding condition. He's not breathing hard. He's right there.
Oh, head kick blocked. And we see the kickboxing of Sanchez again, working with Rufus Sport all that time under Duke Rufus with his stand-up, but again, making the move to Daniel Vanderlei, BJJ, looking for that change. And John, you know, desperate times call for desperate measures. Front kick to the body of Colgan as Sanchez trying to mix up his looks.
Well, at least now you can see Sanchez.
Oh!
Clean shot by Colgan. Sanchez is the one trying to push Colgan back. He's trying to apply the pressure.
Nice takedown again, timed perfectly by Archie King Colgan.
But that's what Colgan's wrestling can do for you. At any moment, he can shoot in and take you off your feet. That is an advantage that Archie has over most of his opponents.
His third successful takedown in 4 attempts. Hasn't really been able to capitalize much due to the savvy of Emmanuel Sanchez. Very active off his back as we are through 10 minutes in this lightweight battle. And how do you have it after 2 rounds, John, on what has been a competitive fight?
First off, I have it just as a good fight. It's really, you can look at that first round. I think the big difference the judges are going to look at, Colgan got hit with that big heel strike, but he didn't go down. Emmanuel Sanchez did. I think he got the round 1. That might have been, other than the 2 takedowns, I'm not sure the way they're going to look at it. Emmanuel Sanchez was doing outstanding in this one. Here's that big takedown right here. Elevates the hips up and brings him down. That's what we call a takedown. Amplitude, as Morrow said. And then watch his elbow strike inside. A little bit blocked right there by Sanchez. That was very clean. Nice job by Sanchez. But here comes that right when he went into that flying knee position. Archie Colgan looking good.
And even Emmanuel Sanchez, again, knowing he's behind that proverbial 8-ball, despite what has been a terrific career here in Bellator, still willing to take risks, still willing to really test Archie Colgan with those flying attacks. Almost paid for it with the right hand, but again, you admire the grit, the heart. Of course, Emmanuel Sanchez is hard-nosed.
The fact that he will go after it and do it.
Third and final round, and Sanchez using 3-punch combination, just trying to find his range. And Colgan, high guard. Colgan changes levels and tries to run through Sanchez. Well defended. Sanchez with the high plunge, trying to deliver knees. Colgan frames out, and they reset in the center of the cage.
Beautiful job by Emmanuel Sanchez to step out of that.
The one area that Sanchez has been successful and has the edge in is in the kicking department.
Yeah, and there's no doubt he's going to win that kicking department. He comes from a kickboxing background. Archie Colgan more boxing-centric with his stand-up. He's got power in his hands, but you got to look at one of the things that was really nice you saw when Sanchez stepped out of that.
Advantage for Sanchez, 92%. Well, Colgan 100, but just 4 forward. But like you said, boxing-centric and the kickboxing of Emmanuel Sanchez. Nice short lead left hook there by Colgan.
That was a nice
again with the left hook.
And those are the ones, look, those count big time because you saw it take him off balance. You saw that it actually made him have to adjust.
And yet, Sanchez continues to march forward. Countered by Colgan, level change.
Good job with his hips getting back.
Trying to defend it. Now Sanchez jumping up, looking for the guillotine.
Okay, he's gonna. Archie Colgan needs to keep that head high right now.
A Hail Mary for Emmanuel Sanchez, 318, looking for the guillotine choke.
You don't want to see Archie Colgan allow his head to get bent down. There you go. Good job by pulling his head out.
Immediately, standing the ground punches, and boy, Sanchez, all you can handle off his back.
Look, Sanchez, his jiu-jitsu is for real. We have talked about it many times. He gets into ground battles. This guy understands exactly what he needs to do, and he is a very good submission fighter.
As you mentioned, his endurance cardio really second to none. This guy just keeps going and going at this pace. Colgan, meanwhile, looking to do some damage within the guard, but needs to posture up and is unable to do so because of the veteran Sanchez.
Big time elbow there by Archie Colgan. It was a beautiful job. You saw him slide that hand away. Another clean elbow.
Midway point of the final frame. Important minutes in the embryonic career of Archie Colgan. Meanwhile, Emmanuel Sanchez trying to return to, as he put it, promotional prominence by stealing Archie Colgan's momentum.
Right now, all these shots that you're seeing there, and I love that Emmanuel is being busy, but those short, hard elbows by Colgan, those are going to score more with the judges than all the little ones that are coming up from Sanchez. There's just not as much weight and power behind him. There can't be, just based upon where his body position is.
A competitive fight, and again, the stats don't tell the whole story, but right now, Sanchez with a huge edge in terms of total strikes landed, and yet when you look at positional control, the takedowns, the other aspects of MMA, John, it tells a different story.
Well, it's a one-way street on that, and it's going to be very hard for Emmanuel Sanchez to try to out-wrestle Archie Colgan, but he can use his jiu-jitsu to put him in danger, which we've seen him do already.
Colgan, when we asked what fans should expect to see, he told us a composed, calculated, and explosive athlete. We've seen a lot of that, and he's definitely exploded with the takedown.
Well, you know, the takedown has worked for him because when he's been on top, he's been able to land those elbow strikes. Those are the most significant things that have been happening with a lot of these positions. So, although Emmanuel's doing a great job trying to swing right now, he's almost hit.
Wow, keeps Colgan from going to full side control. Short elbow from the bottom by Sanchez. Still fishing for the triangle.
Looking for that triangle.
And now the posturing up of Archie Colgan. And again, John, you see his body language totally composed, not panicking at all and defending against Sanchez, who now resorts to delivering hammer fists.
And what people need to understand is there's nothing for Colgan to panic about. Yes, he's got the position to try to get to a triangle, but there's no submission there at that time.
Butterfly, cross leg now, and Archie Colgan from top position.
Tough fight.
Very tough fight, and the kind of fight Archie Colgan will face as he continues his career. And John, after 15 minutes, how do you have it on your unofficial scorecard, and why, sir?
Look, I love Emmanuel Sanchez, and I love how he was going after that fight, but Archie Colgan was able to utilize his wrestling to control a lot of that fight. He landed the heavier blows throughout. That's the big difference. The kicks were definitely Sanchez's, but I'm going to have to say Archie Colgan gets his fight.
Colgan credited with 3 of 6 takedowns, 5 minutes and 31 seconds of total ground control compared to none for Sanchez. And again, you look at the stats, the kicks 25 of 28 for Sanchez, 4 of 4 for Colgan. And it's, again, the number, you look at the numbers and you're like, okay, but John, there's more to it than that. Let's go through them.
You take a look at him and you say the strikes landed, more strikes, but it's the power of the strike. Think of how the strikes are damaging. That's what you're looking for. And you look at, there was the knockdown. It wasn't much, but we had the heel kick and then the punch. Sanchez hits a knee. That ends up being the better strike. All of this, when you're looking at everything, look, there's close, but the 25 landed kicks, that's bull, because I remember 2 kicks being blocked to the head. So sometimes my statistician is not quite perfect.
Let's make it official. Here is Michael C. Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, for the decision, we'll go now to your 3 judges. Your first, Sal D'Amato, scores it 29-28, while judges Brandon Mason and Derek Cleary both see it the same, 30-27. All for the winner by unanimous decision. He's still undefeated, Archie Colgan.
The last 2 years have been, according to Archie Colgan, the greatest years of his life. He is now 8-0 in Bellator MMA, and he's enjoyed the birth of his 2 sons. And John, put a button on just how high the ceiling could potentially be for a guy like Archie King Colgan.
Look, you're looking at a guy that absolutely has the ability to become a contender or a world champion in Bellator.
He just knocked off the highly experienced former 2-time title challenger Emmanuel Sanchez. Huge win for Archie Colgan. Let's go to the fight desk and say hello to Amanda Guerra.
Hello, Mauro, and a very good evening to you. Amanda Guerra here alongside 2-time world champ Josh Thompson, pulling double duty tonight, calling the fights cage side. Now you're up here. Kudos, my friend. You did very well.
Can we get an escalator? Because I keep running back and forth. I'm getting exhausted over here.
You're an old man, and somebody who's getting up there in age, but is absolutely incredible. Yoel Romero, the soldier of God tonight. Look, tonight is so incredible. We have 2 main events for you, including the light heavyweight world championship. You got our champ there, and Vadim Nemkov, but going up against him, coming off back-to-back knockout wins, the soldier of God himself. Josh, why is he so dangerous for someone like Nemkov?
He possesses the speed, the power. He expresses the wrestling. He's an Olympic silver medalist. I mean, he's someone that has all the intangibles, and he's explosive. He's fought the who's who in MMA. People talk about his age. I don't even look at his age. Look at the way he's built. I'm younger than him. I don't look like that anymore.
He said he trains with a bunch of young guys, and those are his lie detectors. He keeps passing the test, though. We'll see if he can pass the test tonight, land that belt, which was the thing that has eluded him his entire career. For now, we'll send it back down tomorrow.
All right, thank you very much as we continue with the Bellator 297 prelims and another intriguing matchup. This one at middleweight between the undefeated Norbert Novenyi Jr. and Kamil Onischuk. And John, at 185, tell us about these numbers.
Look at the real thing to look at. Both guys are fantastic fighters, great records, both very young in their career. This is the future that you're going to watch right now.
Here is Michael C. Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight here in Chicago, we go back to the middleweight division. We're scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds. We'll introduce the blue corner first. At 6'3", weighing in 186 pounds. His professional record, 9 wins, 2 losses from Medjugorje, Poland, presenting Kamil Onischuk. And across the cage, his adversary out of the red corner. At 6 foot, weighing in 185 pounds even. His undefeated professional record, 6 victories without a defeat. He fights out of London, England by way of Budapest, Hungary. Introducing Magic Norbert Novenyi Jr. In charge, your referee, Jason Herzog.
So, we just saw Archie Colgan, blue chip prospect. Hey, same can be said for Norbert Novenyi Jr., who is one of the most highly touted prospects out of Europe. And we have Kamil Onyszczuk looking to bounce back from his Bellator debut where he lost to Costello Van Estinas. Meanwhile, Novenyi Jr. exploding out of the gate with a thunderous 1-2, testing the chin of Onyszczuk.
If you can't tell who Norbert Novenyi trains with, here's his MVP imitation because he's looking very much.
One of his
like
main
Michael
training partners is Michael Venom Page, a second-generation mixed martial artist. He made his Bellator MMA debut at the age of 18.
He's landing and having effect.
2018, defeating Mehmet Yüksay via first round. And he just dropped Onyszczuk, and Norbert Novenyi is a magician because he just made Onyszczuk disappear in this battle with a highlight reel finish. He's a showman. He showed up, and he showed out.
You talked about prospects, and we were going to have this whole thing about what type of prospect Norbert Novenyi Jr. is. This kid is 23 years of age. Look, and we're talking about almost 2 years off due to a knee injury. He is absolutely explosive. Look at the shots that he lands here. And this is, like I said, Michael Venom Page is his training partner, and he's really starting to take a lot of that training, and that is as clean a right hand. You can see Onyszczuk really didn't know where he was at as he sat up, and then that shot right there put him out. Novenyi Jr., that right hand lands as hard as you will find. That was just stunning. It put Onyszczuk down. He was able to try to get himself back. Look at the power that lands with, Moro. That is a devastating right hand.
London Shoot Fighters.
His coach Paul Ivan calls big right hand. Yep, that's what he did.
After starting his career with 4 submission wins in his first 5 fights, Norbert Novenyi Jr. has recorded back-to-back first-round knockouts in the Bellator MMA cage. He is now 7-0 with 2 knockouts, 4 submissions. Began training wrestling and MMA at the age of 10 with his father. Senior won the gold medal in Greco-Roman wrestling at the 1980 Olympics. Also a 2-time kickboxing champion. And his dad won an MMA title at the age of 57.
57.
Hey, Yoel Romero, eat your heart out. And Randy Couture, who is the current oldest champion, winning the title at 43, losing it at 45. But later tonight in the main event at the age of 46, Yoel Romero will attempt to become the oldest man. But hey, right now it's about this young one. 23-year-old Norbert Novenyi Jr. with a fantastic first-round finish.
And it really needs to be said, look, Onyszczuk is a fantastic fighter, super aggressive, very tough. That is a big-time knockout by Novenyi Jr.
Let's make it official with Michael C. Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, inside the Bellator cage, it comes to an end. 46 seconds, round number 1. He is the winner by knockout. Always impressive, still undefeated magic, Norbert Novenyi Jr.
Norbert Novenyi Jr. making the man he calls his big brother Michael Venom Page proud with that scintillating striking. Norbert Novenyi Jr. a knockout in Chicago. Let's go back to the fight desk and Amanda Garrett.
What an incredible finish there. His nickname is Magic. Maybe some Magic Mike moves, Josh. I know why you like this kid so much, because he's got a little bit of the real punk in him. You have told me for about a year to watch out for this kid, and look what he did tonight.
Look at him walk out of the cage, man. He's got the swag. That's what you're looking for. And when he set it up, boom, hit him with the little left, straight with the right hand, right down the pipe. Beautifully done. A little hesitation there. That right there could have potentially cost him that fight going a little bit longer. But look, you got to follow up as fast as you can, get him out of there. This kid is the future of this weight class. And I love the swag about him that he carries. absolutely amazing. The swagger that he walks in, he's dancing afterwards, electric with the crowd. He's getting the crowd going. This is what Chicago needs, baby.
10 out of 10 finish, 10 out of 10 dance moves for him. All right, we have a huge night ahead. History is on the line tonight between Sergio Pettis and Patricio Pitbull. Patricio Pitbull looking to become the first fighter in MMA history in a major promotion to win a belt in 3 different weight classes. Josh, we're going to see him here in a second going up against Sergio Pettis. Talk to us, though, about Pitbull and the weight drop, how you think he looks.
I think he looks fantastic. Look at this. His waistline looks tight. Everything looks tight. Everything about him looks good. Finally gets to fight someone his size.
Talk to us a little bit about this matchup here, because Sergio Pettis has been out of the game for about a year. He was dealing with a knee injury. I mean, such an incredible task coming back against someone like Pitbull. How does he keep his composure through this?
I mean, I went through an injury very similar. When I was the champ, when I came back, I was super hungry, and I was excited to get back in there and look for Pettis to do the same.
Really quickly, if Sergio Pettis, if Patricio Pitbull pulls this off, where does this put him in the history books?
That's for another time. I can't wrap that up that quick. Come on.
All right, we're going to talk about it on the main card. For now, we'll send it back down tomorrow.
It would put him on where his coach calls Goat Mountain. That, to be sure, doing something no mixed martial artist has done before, if Patricio Pitbull is successful. We're set for more action in the welterweight division. Jaleel Willis welcomes Ramazan Kuramagomedov to the Bellator MMA cage. John Kuramagomedov, unbeaten at 10-0.
Unbeaten, and he is a dynamic wrestler, but Jaleel Willis got good wrestling, good boxing. He believes his boxing is going to be the difference.
Here's Michael C. Williams.
Tonight here at Wintrust Arena, we'll move now to the welterweight division. We're scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds. Introducing the blue corner. At 6 foot, weighing in 170 pounds even, he makes his Bellator debut, entering undefeated, 10 victories, no losses. Ladies and gentlemen, Ramazan Kuramagomedov. And across the cage, his adversary fighting out of the red corner at 5 foot 11, weighing in 171 pounds. As a professional, his record includes 16 wins, 4 defeats. Introducing Jaleel, the realest Willis. In charge, your referee, Rob Madrigal.
So Willis bouncing back from the first 2-fight losing streak of his career with a win over Kyle Crutchmer at Bellator 289 last December. And Kuramagomedov, a representative of American Top Team, and he trains with monsters like undefeated Bellator middleweight champion Johnny Evelyn. And our first look at Kuramagomedov in the Bellator cage.
Well, just in his last fight, by beating a guy like Kyle Crutchmer, it tells you that Willis can be a good defensive wrestler, but it's a different style that comes with Kuramagomedov. He's got that Dagestani style, which they're big into just reshooting continuously.
Inside. Late kick and a couple of low kicks by Kuramagomedov, fighting out of the southpaw stance. Liver kick, a return from Willis. Willis, who said he's had issues throughout his career, being, overthinking, overanalysis leads to paralysis, getting into his own head. After that 2-fight losing streak, changed camps, and now coming off a win representing Killcliff FC and putting it on. Kuramagomedov looking to defend the knee up the middle by Willis. And when you talk about Kuramagomedov, wrestling is his biggest strength.
Wrestling is his biggest strength. He's not a bad striker at all, but wrestling is definitely his biggest strength. What you want to do if you're Willis is make sure that he doesn't get into that double unders where he gets his hands locked either on the body or around the hips. He gets to that position. That's when, oh man, that was a big knee.
What a strike by Kuramagomedov. Lights, camera, knockout. That's how you make a Bellator MMA debut. Ramazan Kuramagomedov. We talk about his wrestling. He just picked up his second knockout, his first since a kick to the body KO in April of 2017. But he just dusted Jaleel Willis.
And we just said
in highlight reel fashion.
His stand-up is not bad, and take a look. He brought that head right over into that left knee. Pushed the head right over, knew exactly what he was doing. Watch him push Jaleel Willis in the direction, and boom. He lands right on the jawline. That was a devastating knee. Jaleel Willis unable to answer after that knee. Big time shot. Nurmagomedov just fantastic with the way he performed that, because that was set up, Morrow. That was not an accident.
And is Jaleel Willis's second knockout loss. The first one came January of 2019 via knee and punches. So the knee is the kryptonite. And American top team has another top prospect, Ramazan Nurmagomedov. Hey, Mike Brown said it best. Beautiful.
Beautiful it was. You can't ask for anything better. That was a stunning blow.
He's now 11-0 with his second knockout victory in his Bellator MMA debut. A nice addition to the welterweight division. Let's make it official with Michael C. Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, inside the Bellator cage, the end comes. 1 minute, 24 seconds into round number 1. The winner by knockout, Ramazan Nurmagomedov.
Jaleel Willis tasting defeat for the 5th time in his career, falls to 4-3 in Bellator, but I want to bring in Josh Thompson now. Josh, this prospect out of American top team making his Bellator debut undefeated, you know, singing the praises of his wrestling, but man, his striking definitely on point.
John hit it right on the head when he said he set that up beautifully. Pushed the head over to the side, used his height and his reach to really capitalize, bring that knee up right into the head. Nicely done by him. Look, we had one of the fighters come in, and in this first round had those jitters. In this fight, this is making his debut at Nurmagomedov, and a beautifully executed knee. The jitters were out, nicely done. Congratulations to him. Hot prospect right there, keep an eye on him.
Back-to-back finishes here in the prelim. Somebody who has never been finished and is fighting tonight, one Phil, Mr. Wonderful Davis. We'll see if Corey Anderson going up against him is able to do that. This is an incredibly important fight. Want to take a look at the rankings here because they are 1-2 in the lightweight division. So both of them looking for a win here in order to get a title shot after this. Josh, you've talked all week about how similar these guys are stylistically in their history. How's that?
Well, both are fantastic wrestlers. Both of them have great cardio. Neither one of them is going to get tired in that cage. They're both good on their feet. I give Corey Anderson the advantage in the boxing, but I give Phil Davis the advantage in the kicking. In terms of the wrestling, I think it's going to cancel itself out. Neither one of them wants to expend a lot of energy, make themselves a little bit more fatigued for the striking to open up for them on the feet. So look for this fight to be a knockdown drag out for the full 3 rounds, unless someone can jump in and really land something, a clean, hard shot to put it away.
You and Big John have said all week this one is an absolute coin flip here. So because it is wrestling, and you said it does cancel each other out, do we see it hit the ground or they stay on their feet?
I think they're going to threaten the takedowns. I think Phil Davis will threaten a little bit more than Corey will. I think that has to do because of the height difference. Corey's a little bit taller. It's harder to get underneath someone like Phil Davis and execute your wrestling at the level you're going to need to get Phil Davis down.
Cannot wait to watch this. This is the second fight on the main card tonight, starting at 9 Eastern on Showtime. We will see you then. We'll see you back here in just a minute. But for now, let's continue the prelims. Maybe another finish more, Ranallo.
Pugilistic pyrotechnics, the order of the night here as we get set for action in the lightweight division. And it's Gachi Rabadanov looking to go to 5-0 in Bellator against the, well, newcomer to the Bellator cage, Peter Buist, who was 17-6 out of the Netherlands. John, let's go back to New Year's Eve when Bellator swept Rizin Fighting Federation. Rabadanov, a part of the winning team.
Boy, he looks so good in this fight. And you can see, man, this is a guy that he is explosive in the stand-up. He's got great wrestling, but he would rather be a stand-up fighter, throwing his hands. It was a back-and-forth battle. He just put on a performance.
And he said it was his childhood dream come true to fight at the legendary Saitama Super Arena. Let's go to the numbers.
You look right now, 71-inch reach for Rabadanov, 75.5 for Peter Buist. He is long, tall, and he's an outstanding striker. Rabadanov might want to go back to that wrestling platform.
With the introductions, here's Michael C. Williams.
Tonight, now here in Chicago at Wintrust Arena, we'll go 3 5-minute rounds in the lightweight division. Introducing the blue corner at 6'2", weighing in 156 pounds. In his Bellator debut, he brings 17 professional victories, 6 defeats. Presenting Peter the Archangel Baus. And across the cage, his adversary fighting out of the red corner at 5'8", weighing in 156 pounds. A perfect 4-0 inside the Bellator cage. Overall, as a professional, he stands with 19 victories, 4 losses, 1 draw. Introducing Gadje Rabadanov. In charge, your referee Mike Simarusti.
Gadje Rabadanov riding a wave of momentum, 5 straight wins. Big win over Koji Takeda, part of the 5-0 sweep of Bellator over Rizin Fighting Federation.
Round one. Round one. Let's go. Hey!
And for Peter Baus, making his Bellator debut, and when we asked what he thought about this fight, he told us, I am here to do one thing, and that is dominate. Well, there's a beautiful setup for the entry. Rabadanov taking the taller Baus off his feet and doing it in Corey Anderson fashion there as he kind of flashing that jab and changing the level.
But that just shows the fight IQ of Rabadanov. He likes
Right
to
into
fight
side control.
But go to the strength. Go to where you are a dominant fighter. If there's a place that Peter Baus is going to have problems against him, it's on the ground.
An aggressive
That's what he's going after.
Rabadanov.
That arm could be in trouble.
5 submission wins.
Look out for the Kimura. It's going to come.
Including a Kimura. In fact, his first submission ever was via Kimura back in February of 2013. Over a decade ago, trying to put the finishing touches on the debuting Baus early.
Well, he's already in a position. All he's got to do is get that arm free because he's got the head separated. That makes it very painful when that shoulder starts to get cranked on.
Rabadanov training at the Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov School. Of course, the late great Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, and of course under the learning tree of the legend Habib Nurmagomedov. And what a great start in the grappling department for Gadje Rabadanov.
That's what he's showing right now, his dominance in the grappling. You saw him use that choke attempt to get back to the position where he was comfortable. They didn't really go after the submission at all. But Rabadanov on the ground, he is not easy to get away with. He does damage there. He does like to be in the stand-up and throw his hands, but this is the smart fight for him against Peter Boyce. Beautiful step over right there by Rabadanov. That was just beautiful.
And Rabadanov likes to get things done in a hurry. Has 7 first-round finishes, 4 knockouts, 3 submissions, and putting Baus in a position to, well, be threatened with a submission. Baus answering the phone, trying to block, and Baus has never been. Out of his 6 losses, actually, he has been submitted 4 times. So Baus is susceptible to this aspect of the fight game.
Absolutely. And if you're going to look at your opponent and say, okay, where's the weakness? You're looking at Baus and you're saying it's.
And what are you supposed to do with weaknesses? Exploit them.
Exploit them, exactly. But, you know, that was a great job when he got out of Rabadanov having his back. But now Rabadanov is right back at it.
And so much time still left here in round 1, just over 2 minutes. Hooks are in for Rabadanov. Posting up.
It's a little high. He wants to bring his hips back just a little bit, but he's not.
Baus is shelling up, though he's turtling.
Yep.
And again gives up his back, rolls through. Rabadanov just moving with him. Now has his right arm under the neck of Baus.
Baus doing a good job of just trying to move, create a situation where his movement keeps Rabadanov from being able to sink in that choke, get his hands clasped together.
His last 2 submission moves via rear naked choke. Nice reversal by Peter Baus, giving him an opportunity to catch his breath and try to go to work from top position. Rabadanov controlling his posture. Minute 13 left in the opening frames. But a beautiful sweep there by Baust.
Yeah, that reversal was very nice, but he's not in any position right now to put Ravadanov into any type of danger. But you can tell that all that movement, Ravadanav's kind of trying to slow down, catch his breath right now.
Looking from the closed guard now open.
Looking towards the armbar.
And looking for the armbar from the bottom. So Baust has definitely had his submission defense tested. 45 seconds left in round one, and Baust needs to posture. He says his striking it would be an advantage. Unable to get anything going from top position with the control here by Ravadanov.
Yeah, and there's no doubt, I think you're right, that Baust's stand-up is his advantage, but he's got to be in that stand-up position to make it happen, and Ravadanov is taking this fight exactly where he needs to take it to get the win, so it's very smart, intelligent fighting by Ravadanov.
Monumental event, Bellator 297. Bantamweight champion Sergio Pettis returning after an 18-month hiatus after having ACL surgery. Authored the 2021 Knockout of the Year that come from behind. First title defense against Kyoji Horiguchi with a spinning back fist. But tonight he tries to thwart the attempt by Patricio Pitbull to make mixed martial arts history. The walking Bellator record book. Already the Bellator GOAT, the featherweight champion, former featherweight and lightweight champion simultaneously, drops down to 135 in attempts to become the only fighter to win 3 titles in 3 different weight classes for a major promotion. It's our co-main event. Sergio Pettis defending the Bantamweight Championship against Patricio Pitbull, who was more shredded than a Julian salad at 135, John. My goodness, he did it right, did he?
Yes, he did. That's one of the impressive parts. The way he went about losing the weight, how long it took him, doing it the right way.
There's the entry by Ravadanov, looking for the takedown along the fence, scoops up Baust and puts him on his back.
And again, that is absolutely, if you're looking at the textbook way to get a win in this fight, matching your skills, that is the way for Ravadanov to do it. He's fighting very smart, putting Baust exactly where he needs him to be, so he cannot be dangerous in this fight. Ravadanov is he's realizing that Baust doesn't really use the cage to get himself back up, and so he's actually using it old style, putting his head towards the cage to keep him in a position where there's nowhere for him to scoot out.
Ravadanov putting pressure from the half guard, trying to break the guard.
He's right.
Then right to mount. And now we'll try to break posture up, and as the back of Baust looks to flatten him out.
And that right there is the big thing, man. When you saw him trying to take the arms, flatten those hips out. Get those long legs up in the air. Don't allow his knees to be on the ground. You want the hips down into the ground, his legs up in the air. That's when you have complete control of the body.
Rabadanov's last 2 submission wins have been via form. Well, actually, rear naked choke, and he's been looking to secure the RNC here against Peter Baust. Doing a good job of riding the back and controlling Baust, but there.
You really got to give it to Baust as far as
good defense.
I love the fact that he keeps moving. He keeps on trying to create that situation.
34-year-old
to switch it. Nice job. He's back to half guard.
Midway point of the round and the fight. Gaji Ravadanov 2 of 3 in the takedown department and controlling from top position. Baust has scrambled and defended attempts at the rear naked choke. Now an arm triangle choke as he switches over, John.
It's going to be tight. That is not an easy thing. You see him Baus trying to use that leg.
Yeah, and he's
Perfect position by Ramadanov. He's just allowing the squeeze to happen. He's not really burning his arms out. He's just trying to let his weight be the difference here. It's a good position for Ramadanov to sink his hips down, and the pressure just keeps building. You see Baus trying to use that arm, but that is tight. Not an easy thing to get out. And he did. Great job by Baus.
Amazing by Peter Baus to escape the arm triangle choke attempt by Ramadanov. 1.5 minutes left in the second. So if anything, Peter Baus' submission defense so far passing the test.
It's been fantastic. You're looking at a guy that, you know, all the fights that he's had, especially the stand-up fights, and he's had to work his way through learning the ground. But man, he's done a fantastic job of defending a guy that is really good in that realm of fighting MMA.
Especially when you look at the fact, as we mentioned, he has been submitted 4 times, and Ramadanov here ranked at number 8 in the lightweight division.
Yeah, I mean, and moving up, because Ramadanov is just, he's so good everywhere. And he's being a smart fighter. The way that he's handling this fight, I really thought that his ego might actually get in there and make him want to be in a stand-up battle with Boyce.
Wow, and now Baus gets a chance to showcase some of that striking. Has to be careful with the body kick with the threat of a takedown coming away. Does land the head kick, grazing off the beard of Ramadanov. And now Peter Baus realizing 23 seconds left in the middle frame. An opportunity for him to try to get back into the fight in his department, the stand-up.
Well, absolutely. Look, all those high kicks are good. You could go to that one to the body. That was hard, but that's the kind that Ramadanov is going to catch.
The Dutchman utilizing that Dutch style. And Baus surviving round 2, and maybe building a little bit of, confidence.
A little momentum
In his debut here in Bellator against a guy who was, undefeated and has looked the part.
He's looked fantastic, and although, he hasn't put Baus away, and I thought that arm triangle choke, I really thought he was going to end up getting the tap off of that.
And hey, you did a good job. You didn't say, remember, you let it come to us. We didn't predict it.
I tell you what, I'm really impressed, and Baus remained calm, and that's the difference.
Here it is.
Between a guy that grapples and a guy that's just a kickboxer, because a kickboxer's going to panic.
Well, here's where you can show anything that Ramadanov, from what you see him in the replay, could have done.
Yeah, the big difference is those hips want to go out to the side more, but look, he's the one that decided it's not working. That's why he went back to trying to get that mount position, take the back, and Baus was able to get himself up from that point. Outstanding job.
Okay.
Going into the final round, scores?
There's no doubt. Right now, it's 2018, where Ramadanov has taken both of those rounds. But Baus has shown that if he can be in that standing position, he can do some damage. He can take this fight.
Gaji Ramadanov in the red gloves, Peter Baus in the blue gloves. Ramadanov looking to make it 6 straight wins, 5 here under the Bellator banner, while Peter Baus looking to make an impact in his first fight. Again, training along with former multiple-time champion Gegard Mousasi. And he's even trained with Gokhan Sadacham, who we will see in our heavyweight opener against hometown favorite Daniel James. That kicks off the main card of a stacked event, Bellator 297, from one of Bellator's favorite haunts, Chicago. There was an overhand, a casting punch by Baus.
Yeah, he went for it with that. You saw Ramadanov closing that space on it.
Ramadanov runs the pipe right into the takedown, but again, Baus, very active, scramble, up to his feet again, and a knee.
Beautifully done by Baus. You saw he did not settle for the position.
But level change again by Ramadanov with dogged determination. Tenaciously wants to get it to the ground, knowing that Baus has had some success.
Well, he definitely has it, but this is one of the things with Dagestani fighters is they don't care. Oh, you got up. Well, I'm going to take you down again. Oh, you got up. I'm going to take you down again. They just keep working.
The monsters of mat returns.
Oh, my God. Thank you very much. That's a beautiful statement.
Rabadonov has Baus pinned to the fence, but Baus wanting to turn him around, has the overhook and the under. Of course, there's an overhook, and then at times the whizzer when you're trying to break the grip here, but it's Rabadonov testing his renowned conditioning, really wants to secure this takedown, wants to take the 6'2" Baus off his feet. And finally forced to break, reset. Lead right through the guard by Baus, and again goes from the southpaw to the liver with that body kick.
You can see Rabadonov's getting a little bit tired here. He's starting to give ground, give space. He needs to catch some air. This is a time for Baus to try to take advantage of the situation.
Walking him down. Rabadonov looking for the counter.
Beautiful.
There's a head kick, partially blocked by Rabadonov, but Peter Baus walking down. Rabadonov looking to angles, and they're timing, looking for the timing again, trying to run Baus into the ground, but runs out of real estate, has him against the fence, and again will expend energy here.
See, and all this is, notice that arm, you see that overhook by Baus. All of this work is what takes, and it starts to put a lot of lactic acid into your arms, and that slows down the punches. It makes it to where the punches aren't as powerful. So this is all good work by Rabadonov.
Oh, there's a knee.
Oh, there's a good
the knee by Baus from the double collar tie plum. And again, it's just Rabadonov. Wait, now Baus looking for a submission.
He needs to keep turning there. Don't stay
out of nowhere.
Nice job by Baus.
And Baus has 6 submissions.
He's in trouble. That is tight.
Rabadonov.
See Rabadonov trying to kick his legs to change that angle.
He has been submitted once. That was his last loss in December of 2016. It's been a long time, but Baus, after almost being submitted on a couple occasions here, putting pressure on Rabadonov.
Rabadonov has got himself safe at this point. Baus put him in a bad position. You can see that had a lot of pressure on it.
60 seconds left in the fight. Baus body shots from side control here. Rabadonov, and you had the point, John, where, I mean, with all of those takedown attempts, with all of that fuel being expended, maybe starting to slow down. Baus now putting his weight on him from north-south position, and Rabadonov does appear to be fatigued, but now maybe knowing, hey, time is perhaps Baus' biggest enemy.
Might be looking towards a Peruvian. Now steps over to the side there. Rabadonov at this point just trying to let the clock run out. Holding on to that with a baseball grip onto that.
Right hand, and Rabadonov able to get back up to a vertical base and use lateral movement to try to escape Baus, but Baus keeping him in his scope there, landing the body kick. So Peter Baus in his Bellator debut goes the distance with the number 8 ranked lightweight Gaji Rabadonov.
That was a great third round by Peter Baus. Baus was just so intent on going after him. That was just beautifully done. Put him into the submission, had him in positions where he had Rabadonov in trouble. Take a look right here. Look at the knee inside. You can see the effect that had. Rabadonov goes for the takedown, but big time effort right here. Almost locks up the choke, has it. You can see that's why Rabadonov turns to his back, is he realized, oh, I got a problem. I've got to turn out of this. He gives position to try to relieve some of that pressure. Baus just wasn't able to make it tight enough. Boy, that was a great third round. Baus definitely took that third round. But I think he's going to end up losing the fight 29-28.
But showed the grit, able to go through tough 10 minutes against a top 10 ranked fighter like Rabadonov, and in that final 5 minutes had some success. Potentially Rabadonov, and fatigue becoming a factor. And again, when you got that wrestling base, and boy, John, he was doggedly determined to get the takedown and was able to secure 3 So Gaji Rabadanov hopes to keep his winning streak alive. Hopes to record his 6th straight triumph. While Peter Baust looks to pick up the Duke here in his first foray under the Bellator MMA banner. 24th professional fight for Baust. Came in with a record of 17-6, 4 knockouts, 6 submissions. Let's go to Michael C. Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, having gone the distance, we'll go now to your 3 judges. All 3, Sal D'Amato, Brandon Mason, Derek Cleary. See it exactly the same, 29-28. All have it for the winner by unanimous decision, Gaji Rabadanov.
Had to survive a tough final frame, but Rabadanov does indeed make it 6 in a row, spoiling the debut of Peter Baust, but there's some respect, and Peter Baust giving Rabadanov tough fight in that final round, but Rabadanov remains unbeaten in the Bellator cage. Here is Big John McCarthy.
I'm here with your winner, Gaji Rabadanov. That was a grinding fight. You were dominating the first 2 rounds. The 3rd round, he started to come on. He landed some good shots, the knee to the body, and then he went after the choke. How tight was that choke to you?
Oh, thank you so much. It was a great fight. Very tough, hard fight for me. But I know this guy, very tough guy. This is probably a new problem for everybody.
I thought it was a very intelligent fight by you. You're a guy that we know likes to stand up and throw your hands like you did with Takeda in Japan, but you went after the takedowns knowing that how good he was on his feet.
This guy is very good. He's all the time. When I take him down, he's go up, and he have power. Yes, it was a hard fight for me, but I win. Now I want to talk with Bellator. Hey guys, we need to real deal. After a couple months, me and Archie Colgan. Let's go. This is good fight for us.
Let's go. Sounds good to me. Congratulations on another big win. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Gaji Rabadanov.
Wow, talk about an intriguing matchup. Gaji Rabadanov playing matchmaker after a hard-fought victory over Peter Baust, and Archie Colgan passing his test against Emmanuel Sanchez earlier tonight. I don't know, got to ask Amanda and Josh, what about it? Gaji Rabadanov versus Archie Colgan.
What do you think, Joshua?
Sign me up, baby, sign me up. 2 good wrestlers, 2 good boxers. Willing to get down and get game on it, I'm down with it. Sign me up.
Josh, I have to tell you, we're in an incredible spot up here. Normally we're down cage height, but it's fun being around the fans, and people are loving that you are here, my friend. They are loving you. Are you eating that up?
You're making me blush.
I know.
You're making me blush.
I don't know. You're kind of pale. I'm just joking. Anyway, all right, listen. This crowd here in Chicago, it's going to be a sold-out crowd here tonight, and part of the reason is one Daniel James kicking off the main card, going up against Gokhan Sadicham here. Josh, you've had the opportunity to fight in San Jose. I remember you talked about how special it was there. This crowd loves Daniel James.
Anytime you can fight in front of your hometown fans and what he's done in his community, and they come out to support him. And all the support that he has, they come out to recognize it. And I'm telling you, the first time that I watched him fight in this arena, he was electric. And they loved him from the beginning to the very end, and he delivered for them. I'm expecting him to deliver again.
He made his return to Bellator after 8 years last November here inside the Wintrust Arena, and they went insane for him. Also, throughout the first pitch at a Cubs game, we were there, but you got to check out exactly what happened.
I feel so fired up. It's inspiring, man. It's really inspiring right now. Every kid can't say they dad to the first pitch. This shit is a surreal moment. It's a dream come true.
How are you,
I'm like
sir?
literally like stoked.
I'm
right
doing
now.
very well, thank you. Always. Oh, I was it. Well, no worries, man. I'm here for you guys. However you need.
I swear to God, it's
Hey,
hard to
thumbs
lose.
up. Thumbs up.
When I was right here and I got done, like, what the
He said he wanted to do better than 50 Cent. I will say he did better than that. But that first pitch was sad. I mean, thank goodness he has another career here in the
Could you
cage.
set the bar any lower to do it better than 50 Cent? Let's be honest.
They were 10 feet in front of him in the dirt.
Still, I mean, he's cutting weight to make heavyweight. I mean, he's 280 pounds. He one-hopped it. I mean, look, it was straight. He got it there.
And like
I tip my hat to him.
Harder than it looks. We cannot wait to watch him kicking off our main card. Let's take a look at the entire main card we have coming up tonight. 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on Showtime here. This is one of the best cards in Bellator history. Let's look at our 2 main events we have coming up tonight. Sergio Pettis going up against Patricio Pitbull. Josh, Patricio Pitbull trying to make history in this one.
Yeah, he's looking to put himself on that Mount Rushmore pedestal there, and if he can do that, I think with a great performance tonight, he's got to have a dominant performance, though. This is a big, tough task for him to cut the weight, perform well. There's a lot of people that have tried and have come up short. That weight cut really does have an effect on you, especially in a 5-round fight.
He told us, I still feel incredible. My power's still there. I'm still very fast. Sergio Pettis coming off a long layoff with an injury there, trying to defend his title tonight. Josh, also, our other main event coming up tonight, Vadim Nemkov going up against Yoel Romero, the soldier of God here. Yoel Romero, yeah, I can talk tonight. Yoel Romero at the age of 46, trying to win his first belt.
Yeah, but look at him. He doesn't look like he's 46.
No, he looks incredible.
Like he's about 26. He's physically built like a Greek god. He performs still at a very high level. Obviously, he's fighting for the title, but he's explosive. He's dynamic. He's got Olympic caliber wrestling, Olympic silver medalist. He has everything that you would look for if you're looking for a top level fighter. Where with Nemkov, though, Nemkov's got to be very slick about his movements. He's got to be very careful of walking into that big shot from Yoel Romero. He's got to stay long with the jab, sprawl and brawl, keep this fight on the feet, and not forget to utilize his kicks. Low-level calf kicks, keep the jab in the face, and keep his movement. Never stand directly in front of Yoel Romero.
Vadim Nemkov undefeated here at Bellator. You're going to see coming up tonight, Yoel Romero called him boy, calling him out a little bit there and said, I'm going to show you what's up. That is all coming up tonight, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on Showtime. We'll see you live there.
When it's time to get it in, I ain't the one to mess with.
Bellator returns with a double title fight tilt. Light heavyweight champ Vadim Nemkov is on a collision course
Ain't no way to stop us when we hit ignition.
with the most terrifying fighter in MMA, Yoel Romero.
What a monster!
Plus, bantamweight champ Sergio Pettis
Pettis, spectacular.
faces Bellator GOAT Patricio Pitbull.
Ain't no way to stop us when we on a mission.
Bellator MMA, Nemkov versus Romero, and Pettis versus Pitbull. Tonight on Showtime.
Oh, big shot. Just, he's in trouble. It's going to be over. And it's going to be finished right here, right now. It is over. Sergio Pettis, one of the finest fighters of all time. And I say that because this is a kid at 26 years old who already has 18 career victories. Sergio Pettis making his Bellator debut against fellow newcomer Alfred Kashakian. Fight scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds. Here we go. Davidson, you got Rufus Ford. Those are the 2 biggest things I can think of. Oh, big shot.
just
He's in trouble. It's going to be over.
It is going to be finished right here, right now.
It is over. This fight is done. Alfred is not going to get out of that choke either. That arm is trapped. No way to stop it. He's out. He's out. He's out. He's out.
It's all over. Sergio Pettis, victorious in his Bellator debut.
Look at the counter. Look at the head movement and watch the hand come straight over. Boom. That right hand just starches him. Kashanian tries to come back, but he just is not really there. And then the arm kind of gets trapped behind him. Watch the right hand. Boom! Right on the button.
Just received his black belt in Vanderlei Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a black belt in Rupa Sport Kickboxing, and as I mentioned, a second-degree black belt in Taekwondo. He is also 1-0 in his young Bellator debut.
Sergio Pettis.
Go, baby. You ready? Here we go. Tonight's Fight Clock brought to you by Geico.
If you're looking right now, Ricky Bandejas is a taller fighter, but Sergio is fighting tall. Ricky is actually squatting down.
Black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and a black belt in Rupa Sport Kickboxing.
Opinion Sergio Pettis gets round one. I know that Ricky landed that takedown and it was beautiful positioning, but he didn't land anything off of it. There was no submission attempt, no strikes that really landed. Initiating the offense. Oh, big right hand by Sergio Pettis.
That one landed. It's 2-0. You need to either throw caution to win and try and do something.
Sergio Pettis.
Unanimous decision victory for Sergio Pettis. 2-0 in Bellator, his 20th professional victory.
The showtime is now in Sergio Pettis. He's the guy. His keys to victory right now for this fight is he needs to use that low calf kick.
We are set for a possible 5 rounds for that, the Bellator Bantamweight Championship. Ready to fight? Let's go. The belt, round 1, the champion Archuleta in the red gloves, the challenger Pettis in the blue gloves. Oh, nice counter right hand by Pettis.
Beautiful counter right hand. Nice elbow in the swing back by Sergio Pettis. That landed. Nice counter right hand.
1-2 by Archuleta that landed, that went through the body, but
knuckles that are sticking out of, and that is just bone to bone, and that will make the cut. You're not going to see a boxing glove make a cut on a forehead like you will with the hand strikes of an MMA glove.
Yeah, Pettis knuckling up, tag each other. Another sharp jab by Archuleta. And there's a left hook and a right hand splitting the guard for Pettis to befuddle the challenger Pettis, who appears to be very...
That was a beautiful right and left combo that lands. You see it actually
by Dantas as things pick up here early in the 4th.
That was a nice clean right hand that Sergio Pettis landed when.
Jab by Pettis. Archuleta not moving that much and gets tagged with that counter right hand by Sergio Pettis.
That was 2 right hands that landed. But that's just a good movement by Pettis because it makes Archuleta actually have to deal with, he'll actually try to take me down.
Beautiful combination lands for the challenger, follows it up with another sharp jab. And not expending nowhere near the energy that Archuleta is in terms of Archuleta's movement. Oh, and again, that counter right, John, is there all night. Forward, but not having the success that Sergio Pettis is. And Pettis, there's a knee to the body. The counterattack to the champion. 20 seconds left, and again, that right cross by Pettis.
Here's Pettis. You see Archuleta coming after him. That left hand, beautiful left hook, and then the right straight, right on the chin.
coming for it, but doesn't throw. There's another exchange, and again, it ends with the counter from Pettis.
Pettis was already backing out, so no, I've seen it before. You're not going to catch me with that.
Pettis switches this, holding his ground. 2.5 minutes left in this championship fight.
Pettis knows that when Archuleta makes that move inside, he's kind of dropping his head, and that's what he's...
Oh, yeah. You're still handsome, homie.
Hey, what's up, baby? Carmen, I can't wait to get home and hug you. Actually, I'll hug you in a little bit. I'll see you soon.
Let's take a look at some of the action from that 5th and final round. Nice left hook landing. You see how solid that landed.
And now the new Bellator Bantamweight World Champion, SP Sergio Pettis. And now the defending Bellator Bantamweight World Champion, Sergio SP Pettis.
Sergio Pettis adding a little spice with the salsa stylings of Mark Antony's latest, and Pettis, well, flexes are what separate him from Pettis. They touch gloves over Kai Asakura last New Year's Eve, where he became a two-time Rizin champion as Pettis landed the right hand, avenging a knockout loss to Asakura. Horiguchi tapped and he went over with the left and goes to the body. Pettis comes back with a combination. 45 seconds left in the first round. One of the best ever in Demetrius Johnson with 1 second left in the 5th and final round. And here, up kicks.
Nice up kick by Sergio Pettis. This is that time right here when Horiguchi got into a position. There's the up kick. I believe that might be what actually cut him. He's landing some heavy shots. Nice, clean left hand right there.
The rhythm of Horiguchi. It's not about accuracy, says. It's about... Counter right hand again lands for Pettis.
He does have power in his hands. He just needs
lead left hook to the body that lands.
He's out.
Are you kidding me?
Sergio Pettis pulling it out like we talked about. He had to do something spectacular.
The smile says it all.
Spinning back fist also says it all.
Ladies and gentlemen, the main event comes to an end. 3 minutes, 24 seconds into round number 4 by knockout. The winner and still Bellator Bantamweight World Champion, Sergio SP Pettis.
Let's go to Big John McCarthy.
Great with his fighters are so...
Lights out! Legend Vassell! Mr. Wonderful Phil Davis!
Phil's been fighting under the bright lights his entire career.
Not much. He's going to be... The referee's not going to let him take many more.
It is all over! Mr. Wonderful! Oh my God! It's over!
Jason Alzon giving the extra time, but it was never in doubt.
Wow! Here we go! The former champion in his pink trunks and red gloves. By King Carl, big right hand.
That was off a nice knee inside that got him to the body. Beautiful right hand. Albertson trying to block. You see him entwining that leg so he doesn't go over. Phil doesn't want to get too high up on the hips because then he can be tossed off. So that's why you see him sitting back. Just controlling the position, controlling his opponent. He knows he's done good damage so far in the round right now.
Final seconds of round number 2. He'll take either of those rematches.
Nice, keep your body. Then that second shot, you can see that hurt.
There's that kick.
That took the air out of King Carl. He was feeling those shots.
Phil looks good tonight.
Looking really good. Big left hand, big right hand. I'm surprised that he's actually going after the takedown there. Phil. Big shot underneath. Very hard to see.
Robertson's in big trouble here.
Yeah, he's taking heavier and heavier shots. There's nothing that Carl can do to stop it. He's a tough guy. He's never going to quit.
Phil's been fighting under the bright lights his entire career.
Not much. He's going to be... The referee's not going to let him take many more.
It is all over! Mr. Wonderful, Phil Davis!
And that's the situation when we talk. That's a TKO victory.
To get back on the winning track here tonight, the bell and round 1.
It's really interesting to see how Phil Davis is starting to work on the length of Linton Vassell that has given us some problems.
Beautiful. Again, Davis catches the kick, secures the takedown, and goes to the back mount.
Not back mount yet, but it was the way what he did when he caught the kick as Linton tried to turn himself out of that and get his leg free. You saw Phil diving straight into that body, getting a body lock and taking him down. Now he's landing big shots. This is where Linton Vassell, talk about getting out. You got to get out. There he goes again, man. You have to be impressed with that.
Goes for the takedown, defended by Davis, but Davis giving up his back, and Vassell managing to muscle Phil Davis to the ground.
Man has that arm inside. He can get that right hook with his leg, Morrow. He's going to have a good position.
Under a minute left in the opening round. Davis with the, backdoor skip, but he didn't need to. He now has top position on Vassell.
And that's what it's like trying to stay on top of a guy that can wrestle the way that Phil Davis can wrestle. He can scramble his way out of such positions that you think you have him and you don't.
Davis began wrestling in the 7th grade, was a 4-time Division I All-American at Penn State. We talked about him winning a Division I title, and Vassell though with another takedown, but immediately Davis just kind of threw him over his head.
Very good, Jim. You know, just run by Eric Del Fierro. He's great with his fighters. They're so...
Lights out, Linton Vassell, Mr. Wonderful Phil Davis.
Let's go.
Bell in round 1, the former light heavyweight champion Davis in the red gloves. Yoel Romero in his first fight here in Bellator MMA, returning to the 205 division in the blue gloves. At the Shark Tank.
See, this is the Romero you want to see in the first round, though.
And Davis gets another takedown, almost moves right to mount, and now has Romero's back. Romero has never been submitted in the scramble. Romero feeling the heat from Davis. Third takedown of the fight.
And he's got him up with his back on that cage.
But a 44-year-old former silver medalist and Phil Davis continues to treat Yoel Romero like a newborn baby treats a diaper, John.
Right now, he's utilizing a skill set that he's had for so long. And he's doing a great job of taking Yoel sometimes.
Nasty knee strikes to the ribs.
Working himself to his feet, but then getting dropped back down. Nice ribs, just keep on hitting with the knees. A nice attack by Phil Davis.
Phil Davis was in a state of limbo heading into this fight, standing between gatekeeper status and, of course, a man who's defeated him twice, the champion, Vadim Nemkov. Phil Davis has put together...
No time left.
Phil Davis, Mr. Wonderful, has to feel wonderful about his performance in tonight's main event.
The 26 for the winner by split decision, Phil, Mr. Wonderful Davis.
You to sleep. That's his strategy.
The touch of the gloves, the second semi is underway.
That was a close fight. That was a fight he almost won. Very close decision.
That's where he doesn't want to be, in the grasp of Phil Davis. 4 years at Penn State, 4-time All-American, national champion.
near the jaw. As soon as his hips are in good position, he's going to try and slide it up. But right now, going with the wrestling ride.
For the fun of it, after winning the national championship a year later, he became no-gi world jiu-jitsu champion.
Nice takedown right into side control. Crushing top control, long arms, which makes it easy to hunt for submissions like this. Man, he's going hard for that Kimura.
Manuel Newton trying to get the legs free so he can sweep out of it. He's in huge trouble, and it's over. Never got that title shot in the UFC. He can earn it in the Bellator cage right now. The fight clock brought to you by Miller Lite, the original Pilsner. Cheers. It's Miller time.
Oh my God! It's over!
Jason Dawson giving the extra time, but it was never in doubt. Wow! To the core, which Phil Davis was tonight twice.
Look at the combo. Beautiful left hand right on the chin. Carmaz hand up trying to defend himself, but he is out. You see when the right hand came down, it's glued to the head on the ground. Forget being a grappler tonight. Phil Davis, a complete mixed martial artist. Beautiful shot.
The fight. That back first, and then another shot at the belt. Here we go. Red gloves for Phil Davis, blue gloves for Liam McGeary.
One thing Liam's doing is you're watching this fight. Here comes Phil, takes it down.
John, I was just about to say we haven't even seen a shot or a takedown attempt, and there it is.
Exactly. He needs to try to create those angles. Wow. Beautiful movement by Phil Davis. That was a nice move by Liam to get himself through it. Phil now coming under the arm. Smart play by Phil Davis. When you throw that shot into the arm, the fighter cannot see it coming.
Gotta watch the angle of those elbows.
Yeah, the elbows were good. It's just a matter of the location. All of those were good elbows. Yep. But the referee is just watch where it's landing. Oh, that was a nice shot right there. You get him up. That is a clean shot. Nice job by Phil Davis.
When he tells us everything's changed, he's in a great place. He's fighting better than he has. He's got great confidence.
He got hit with a big left hand. He's in trouble again. That hurt Liam McGeary bad.
All those things can be true, but if your opponent is putting on a performance like Phil Davis is tonight, it nullifies all those positives.
Phil Davis has 54 seconds right now.
Finish all over. Phil Davis finishes Liam McGeary. There's your answer. It is all over. Just like that.
But he's feeling something out of Nemkov. He's done.
It is all over. Vadim Nemkov is the new Bellator light heavyweight champion. Here we go. Set him okay now. The hand's okay.
Nemkov trying to find him. McGeary stops that takedown. That was great. Breaks away with a head kick. Clayton Hires tells me this every single day in practice. The simple theory is a guy can't fix it on the fly. So if you get past the gate once on him, just keep going back to it. Make him deal with that in the locker room in the next month before the next camp.
Look for another kick. Big right hand lands.
Huge right hands. McGeary can take a punch, though. Oh, McGeary went for an outside leg trip.
Good shot by Vadim Nemkov. Long limbs for McGeary.
This is his move. Oh, he lost it. Vadim was smart. He watched it. He postured up, put a little too much pressure on the crooks of that lock, was able to get him to break it. And now McGeary here, right here, he's looking to come up. Old McGeary would have stayed down. Right. New McGeary he's not seeing an opening, but he wants to come up to his feet here.
Liam McGeary loves fighting off his back.
He doesn't have the use of the mobility of his leg. He can't feel it the same. Look at this, Big Dan starting to look on. McGeary is starting to he's just being dog tough right here.
25-year-old's pretty impressive.
Right there, stop it. Yeah.
They stopped the fight. Liam McGeary just could not take any more kicks.
No, he turned away. And that, look, story of all 3 rounds. He's setting them up. There he's coming inside. But I will point out one other thing for you, Goldberg. Every kick went to the same leg. He never was hunting. He never tried to get fancy or go to that rear leg. Outside leg kicks, every now and then slip up and inside, attack the same limb until the opponent can no longer stand.
Here we go. Hurt his knee in that fight against Kelly Amundsen and was out for a little bit after that. About 2 years, Jimmy. Almost 2 years to the day.
Good right hand.
See who takes control of this first round. Oh! There's your answer. It is all over. Just like that. The bold 93 proof rum that's edgy to the core.
Bang! Right hand right on the chin. And Felipe lands his eyes wide shut. Great stoppage by John McCarthy. But look at the placement on that right hand. Head snaps on the mat. Look at this. Eyes are cloudy. Just enough to see this punch coming, and that is it. Big John McCarthy right on top of it.
Vadim Nemkov.
Great way to start. Winner at 3:03 of the first.
Kerry Hatley speaks Texan.
I was going to say, yeah, and he speaks Southern. Here we go. Main event. The former middleweight champion, Rafael Carvalho in the red glove.